各位朋友，大家好，歡迎嚟到人氣馬場。今集嘅嘉賓咧，相信大家都唔會太陌生嘅啦。事關如果呢幾年咧有留意澳洲賽馬嘅朋友咧，都知道咧佢係咁贏啲一級賽嘅喎，而且佢 uncle 咧更加喺香港咧贏過頂級大賽嘅喎。究竟佢係邊個？就係鄂敦個外甥啊，游達榮。Hello David, welcome to Hong Kong, and I know that there's a lot of people know your uncle, but not yourself. So can you tell us about something about yourself?
Yeah, thanks Ian. Grew up in Newmarket, English, obviously. My father trained for 35 years, and I grew up with racing, with horses. It was always what I wanted to do was be involved in racing. I wanted to be a jockey, but I was too big and too fat. But I had a very short, very unsuccessful riding career. I had 20 rides on the flat, which was great and gave me a really good sort of perspective for racing. And then went on my journey to become a trainer. I worked for Roger Varian, who's brought horses here to Hong Kong. I actually brought a horse here to Hong Kong for him in 2013. And then I moved to Australia in 2014 and spent 10 years there. Obviously then became assistant trainer to Kieran, and then we went into partnership and had 7 seasons in partnership. So, you know, the success we had in Australia was what led me to come to Hong Kong and give me that opportunity to train here. And it's something, as you touched on, my uncle trained here, so it's something that had always been part of the racing journey for me, something that I'd always wanted to do. I wasn't sure when that would come, but you know, thankfully it came probably sooner than I expected through successes in Australia, and it's obviously very exciting to be here.
I was quite shocked when I see the news that you are coming to train in Hong Kong, because you have a fantastic seasons with Kieran and you won most of the big races there. And of course, I read some stories about yourself when you're in your childhood, and your mom and your uncle, just like when your uncle won some big races, then you receive some faces from him, and some winning pictures in your old home and Newmarket too. So I think he has been quite an influential part in your training career, right?
Yeah, definitely. I remember those days. You know, you'd get them Sunday morning. The faxes would come through, and yeah, great excitement when David had a winner, and then a big winner. You know, he had a great career here. So you know, that was very early on. I was 9, 10, 11, 12 when that was happening, and I was still by then I was, you know, totally hooked and obsessed by racing. Didn't matter where it was. So, and yes, you're right. We, you know, had great success in Australia, but I was ready for a new challenge. You know, we had 3 or 4 seasons where we really, you know, dominated, particularly in Victoria, and obviously winning the Melbourne Cup was a massive thrill as well. So I felt it was the right time to take on a new challenge, and Hong Kong, you know, really feels the right place for me.
So you tell us that you were in Hong Kong when you bring Roger Varian's horse for the Hong Kong Cup, and then you moved to Australia. There's one interview that mentioned that actually you didn't plan to stay in Australia for that long. You just want to gain some experience, and then you end up there for 10 years. So what do you learn the most, and what kind of the experience that you experienced the best?
Well, I think it shows you can't plan too much. Because yes, I thought I would be in Australia for a year or 2, and then I would come back to Newmarket and, you know, go on the journey to start training in Newmarket. At the time, you know, I felt that was the centre of racing, and obviously grew up there. But quickly in Australia, I realised how the industry there is thriving. The prize money is very good. The ownership numbers are very high, so it felt a place to explore a bit more than just a year or 2. And then the opportunities came, thankfully, from Kieran in particular, but I worked for Peter Moody, who trained Black Caviar, of course, which was a great experience. So it's learning off the best, you know, and that's what I always wanted to do, was learn off the best. I feel like I've done that, and it's really helped me become the trainer that I currently am now, and now I'll be learning off the best in Hong Kong, and you can only improve as a trainer for that. So great opportunities in Australia. I think as a place in general, it's like that anyway, whether it's racing or other industries. And frankly, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for going down there.
Can then bring you the first Group 1 victory? So is it still the most exciting moment of your career there?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, it was obviously a huge day, and yeah, knocking off the first Group 1 was, and for fantastic owners, very, very lucky owners as well. They actually own Circle of Fire, who Andrea won on in the Sydney Cups, now favourite for the Melbourne Cup. So that was a great thrill, and for her to go on and do it again and win another Group 1 really cemented her place as a top quality horse. But you know, we were very lucky. Had many great days. Trained some, you know, really great horses over all distances, all ages, and you know that really makes you adapt and learn as a trainer as well.
Can you tell us how you meet Kieran and how you end up to be his assistant trainer and then to be the co-trainer with him?
Well, I met Kieran at Caulfield when I was working for Peter Moody. He was training there, and he was only a small trainer at the time. He was very hands-on, which I like to be as well. He was riding a lot of his own track work, and he's just a really brilliant horseman. So we had a chat while I was at Caulfield. I said I'd love to work for him when the time was right. He was just expanding at the time, but not probably quite quick enough. I went up to Sydney, worked in Sydney, and when I was in Sydney, he gave me a call and said, look, I'm getting a bit bigger, and went from 40 and worked to 60, 70. So that's when I joined him as assistant, and it, you know, really grew from there.
So you said that you like to learn from the best. So actually you learn from your father James, and also Roger Rorian, Peter Moody, and Snowden, and also Kieran. What kind of the advices that you received is the most make the most impact to you?
Well, I think probably what I've learned most is you need to adapt to your conditions. So you can't train a horse the same way in Hong Kong as you can in Newmarket, and I think that's going to be a big help for me coming here, is how much I had to adapt going from Newmarket to Melbourne and training a horse, and from Melbourne now to here. So you know, I think that'll be the key, is adapting to conditions. You know, it's well documented that the environment's not easy for some horses, and that you need to take your time, and I'm going to really take my time. I'm going to take my time with horses that I've received off other stables and horses that I've imported myself. So I won't have a lot of runners early in the season. I'm not going to rush the horses. I'm going to let them adapt, and you know, in turn I expect to have runners towards the end of September.
As a youngster, actually to be a trainer is never easy. You need to gain the trust from the people and also your team. I'm sure that there's lots of up and downs for your training career. So can you name a few, and how would you overcome all the difficulties?
Well, I think you've got to put the work in. If you prepare and put the work in, then you've got to then have the faith in your ability and what you've learned in the past.
Yeah.
So I think as long as you're working hard, people will see that. The staff here have been great, and they can see the work that I'm putting in, and in turn I see the work that they are too. So from that point of view, morale's good, and I've got a really good team of staff. And the owners have been extremely supportive. I'm, you know, well aware that I'm young, but I don't feel I lack experience, which is the main thing. And I've got youth and energy on my side, and I think, you know, training techniques that will suit here as well. So ultimately, it's about results. You can speak all you want about what you've done in the past. That's not something I really like to talk about anyway. I don't reflect back too much. I wouldn't be here probably if I was the type to do that. So, you know, what I achieved in Australia really is as much as it's helped me to get here. You start from zero in Hong Kong. I'm aware of that, and I need to get the results on the board.
Technologies nowadays plays quite a vital role in every industry, and I know that you're really you bring science to train your horses too, in which is a little bit different to other trainers here who has established for many years. So can you tell us some more about this?
Well, honestly, the simplest way of putting it is just common sense. It's putting facts behind what you're doing. You know, we've all, over, you know, varying degrees of years, whether it's 20, 30, 40 years, or in my case 10, and 20, worked with horses, dealt with horses, and you have to trust your eye. And that's that's why we're all here, is that we've all got some sort of eye to get a horse fit and ready to race. But the sports science does put facts behind it. It measures heart rate, which is obviously fitness, and recovery, which is what we're trying to do, is get horses fit to race, but not too fit and overtrain them. And at the same time, it measures stride length. So obviously a horse's movement, its athleticism. We're dealing with an athlete, a very valuable athlete. It's small margins very often on the day here at Sha Tin or Happy Valley. And their stride and their stride length might make the difference of winning or losing, so it's measuring that as well, and that's the two main things to focus on to keep the horse fit, healthy and happy.
Yes.
Now I think that will really help in getting results here and anywhere, and that's something that we've worked on and hard and closely over the last 3 or 4 years.
So when we look at your career in Australia, of course you're just like moving forward and developing your career here. So which winner is the most memorable, or which race?
Yeah, look, I think there's probably two. It's hard to split, but obviously winning the Melbourne Cup is any trainer's dream, is to win a race like that. It's the ultimate race in Australia.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate race for any Australian, and it's one of the top races in the world that gets enormous amount of publicity, and people outside of racing really take note of that. So that was a great day. Hitotsu was a very, very good horse. He was by Maurice, who won here, won the Champions Mile in December. And he was a very unique horse. He won a Guineas over a mile. He was a Group 1 winner over a mile. And won 2 derbies over a mile and a half, over 2,400, and that's unusual. I'm very confident that he would have won a Melbourne Cup if he stayed sound. It's a real shame he didn't, but I'm sure he'll go on to be a good stallion as well.
Looking ahead, what would you like to achieve in Hong Kong?
I'd like to have a long, successful career here. I'm not here to be here for a short time. I'm loving Hong Kong, and I'd like to train here for many years, and obviously, like any trainer, you want to win the big races. That's not going to happen overnight. Winning the big races, that takes time, but I want to be competitive in my first few years, get some winners on the board, gain the confidence of owners, and then set on a path.
It would be amazing to have an uncle and nephew combination to have one big race in Hong Kong. Can you give us some updates about your uncle? So lots of people miss him so much.
Yeah, he's very well, thanks. Enjoying retirement. He actually had his 70th birthday last weekend, so my parents were there for that. He had a big dinner party and a few too many drinks, I think. But no, he's enjoying retirement. He loved Hong Kong, and I'm sure he'll come back and visit in the next few years.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see you guys just like winning some big races on the turf.
I hope so.
So any races you specifically would like to win in Hong Kong?
Oh, look, I think the Derby's the race. Of course, everyone wants to win. And, I'll be trying hard to source that right horse to do that. Now, it might take a few years to work out exactly what the right horse is, but I think I've got a pretty good idea of what's required, and I'm on the lookout for the right horse now.
So if there's a youngster who would like to join this industry, could you give a piece of advice for him to stay as long as he can?
Honestly, I think the industry is underplayed and how enjoyable it is. It allows you to be involved in a sport, be involved in competition. Yes, you have lows, but you also have great highs. You don't necessarily have the constant of a day-to-day job, but to have those highs when a horse crosses the line in front, whether that's looking after a horse as a marfu back in the barn, riding the horse in the morning, it's a great thrill, and it's different as well. It's different every day, keeps you on your toes, keeps you interested, and I think it's a wonderful industry to be a part of. You meet some amazing people from all walks of life all over the world, and I think that's one of the great assets of it.
Any horses that the audience can follow in the early season from the stables?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a few. I've got a horse called Swift Ascend, who's 395. who's in class 4. Actually used to train him in Australia. Did nothing wrong really in his 4 starts and then had a setback. But he's training well and I think will be, one of my first runners. And then I've got a lot of young horses, or horses sort of coming through the racing club. I've got a really nice horse called Young Emperor. I really like him. He's come from Ireland, won a handicap in Ireland very impressively. But he'll be racing probably mid to late October. And on the unraced brigade, I've got a nice horse called Hail to the Victors, 508, J508. He's actually my first horse in the barn. Graham Cott, I owe him an awful lot. He's been great, and was my first owner. And he's unraced by Al Manzour, and he'll want a mile plus, which admittedly might not suit every race in Hong Kong, but I think he's got enough speed and he's a nice horse.
If you can invite 3 people for dinner, can you name them?
3 people for dinner?
Yeah.
They're not all alive.
It doesn't matter.
But I'd have Shane Warne,
Yeah.
cricketer,
Yeah.
who's a real hero of mine.
Yeah.
I'd have Winston Churchill,
Yes.
who was the Prime Minister of England, obviously during the war. And I'd have Sir Alex Ferguson,
Ah.
the Man U coach. I think Fergie would have probably made a good trainer as well, likes his horse
Yeah.
racing. So
What would you like
off the
to
cuff,
get?
that'd probably be my 3 anyway.
What would you like to get from them?
Well, Warney is very amusing, or was very amusing, and a hero. I'd have quizzed him obviously about cricket,
Yeah.
and Churchill was a great speech maker, a great talker, very charismatic,
Yeah.
and would have been fantastic company.
Yes.
And I'd have picked Fergie on his coaching and his attention to detail, and when he obviously knew when the time was right to turn the screw. And I think training's similar. You can be patient, and everyone can be patient if they want to, but you've got to know the right time to push the button as well.
That's why I think that's 3 people is your hero, because you learn the speaking skills from them and you know how to manage a big team as Sir Ferguson. So actually, it's a quite interesting combination.
Yeah, well, they're experts in their field, so it'll be a lot of fun as well. Be plenty of decent red wine, hopefully.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.
I'm sure you have a fantastic season, and hopefully your stable will getting bigger and bigger, and all the best.
Thank you very much. Thank you.